Well, I started off working in a garage when I was younger, and I actually got my firefighter's diploma while I was working at the garage. So that kind of helped me pay for the courses. And there wasn't very many jobs around Montreal back in the day, so I applied everywhere I could in Ontario, and I ended up getting hired on as a firefighter in Oakville in 1994. I was stationed with another firefighter who did exactly what I do now. He did lights and sirens and for police, fire, and ambulance. So he said, you love cars, and we don't have a distributor in Quebec, so why don't you open up a little business in Quebec? In late 1997, I guess, I started up the business and just went and knocked on doors. I had my toolbox, I had my car, I had a cell phone and a laptop. So then I just went cold calling and knocking on doors and looking for customers, and that's how the business started to grow. As a matter of fact, I went from running around with my car to sharing a shop not too far from here with the guys that were doing the striping and the lettering on the vehicles. So they were really cool with me because I was still going back and forth to Toronto. I was still a firefighter back then in Toronto and Oakville. And so they would kind of make it look like I had a business that was open and operational even when I was in Ontario. So then that was my second step up, I guess. So there was always somebody available there for the phone or for shipments or anything like that. Plus I shared the install area with them. And then actually it was a bit later than that. It was 2004. I bought the shop here and moved in April 2004, and I was actually hired in the same week by the city of Longueuil as a full-time firefighter. So what I thought was going to be my week off to move in and get everything ready here was a week of training at the fire department, actually 3 weeks of training in Longueuil. So I'll still remember my friends coming by here, and they were laughing at me because it was such a big place and it was empty. There was only 3 of us here. So my friends would call me Tumbleweed because it was like a barren desert in here because there was only 1 or 2 cars at a time. And now there's 20 people working here and 6 to 8 cars at a time in the shop. We don't only work on police, fire, and ambulance vehicles. We also work on public works vehicles. We work on commercial vehicles for electricians, for line painting, towing, anything that has a flashing light on it, or any mobile workstation we actually can do work on. Well, we work on all types of customers and vehicles, anything from Honda Civic, which could be an undercover surveillance car for a police department, which you would never know is a police car, all the way up to Suburbans, like the Obama Suburbans, the black bulletproof Suburbans. We did some work on them. You see those on TV, so they're not a big secret, but we also do a bunch of secret vehicles for the government that are either surveillance vehicles or undercover vehicles, interception. They could be for drug trafficking, they could be for scuba, or any type of anti-terrorist vehicles that need lighting and wiring equipment. Mostly custom work, so what we call one-off vehicles. 1 vehicle or 2 vehicles. And then in this garage we do production, so anything 2, 3, 4, 5 vehicles that are the same, or vehicles that we're doing repetitively through the year. Some of the provincial and even the municipal departments have a rotation through the year. They don't just all do 100 cars or 5 cars. Some of them rotate them slowly through the year, so that spreads out the work level and allows us to reach more customers in the fire market and in the commercial market without having to overload us all in one shop. Sales cycle and the installation are basically all in one. There's 2 types of sales that we can make, and that's just selling the product or selling and installing the product. Obviously we offer after sales service and any part service that goes with it, but when we meet up with a customer who's interested in having our services, what we do is we identify what they need or what they want or what they're using. We need to replicate that. We have to build an estimate for them, send the estimate to them, and have it approved. Sometimes it has to go through council, sometimes it's through a bidding process where there's other of my competitors bidding, and they'll take the lowest bidder who meets their spec. Then from that standpoint, they'll send us a purchase order. We'll order the product and schedule their job anywhere from 10 to 40 or 50 hours of labor into our production schedule. Once the vehicle and all the product gets here, then we'll start with a quality control inspection. First, we inspect the vehicle from front to back. A brand new vehicle, we actually inspect it from front to back. A lot of people think that a police car comes built directly from the factory as a police car, but it doesn't. It comes in as a police pack. It has special brakes and special suspension, but it doesn't have any of the lighting or electrical equipment or the radio or communication equipment. So we do all of that. Once the complete inspection is done on the equipment in the vehicle, we have a plan, basically a work plan and installation instructions that the customer will give us, where they'd like it, how many flash patterns they want, what kind of siren they want, where they want their equipment, and how they want it installed. We have to fit all that into ergonomic and safety constraints so that there's no airbags in the way of the equipment, so that the officers don't get hurt, or so they don't get chronic pain because they're twisted around working on a computer that's installed off to the side of them. So the whole car is put together with all the equipment. Actually, it's taken apart first. All the equipment and wiring is laid in. We put the car all back together. We test everything. And then before it goes out the door, there's another quality control inspection. And we check everything on the vehicle again, plus everything as far as the emergency equipment that we added on. So we have less than 1% return rate on our installations here. And we do over 650 cars a year. The whole process can take anywhere from a week to 12 or 15 months. I've seen before the council approvals and budgets and things like that. But from the time the product is ordered, it could be from 0 to about 4 weeks on average to receive all the product. The vehicle, once the vehicle gets here, it's usually 2 to 3 months to order a vehicle. So once everything is here and we're ready to go, on average, we're looking at about 40 hours for installation time for a vehicle. So that's 1 week, and the vehicle's in and out. What the police department does is they'll replace about 10 to 15% of their fleet every year. So they'll replace on 100 cars anywhere from 10, sometimes up to 20 cars, depending on the year. And that's how they keep their fleet up to date. So without taking all of their cars out at the same time or having a bunch of old cars or a bunch of new cars, they'll rotate around anywhere from 50 to 20% of their cars. So every year they'll budget for their cars, they go out to tender, they buy their cars, they buy their equipment, and then through the tendering process for us, they'll choose an upfitter. So hopefully they choose us more often than not. I can manage both jobs because I have a good team around me, but to be really honest, in the beginning I had to fake it a little. I had to sometimes hide in the back of the fire station with a cell phone and pretend I was at the office or busy or working, but I was really at the fire station. So I tried to make sure that I had a good balance and that I didn't have my business here take up space on the fire department. So I tried to do it on my leisure time or on my break time. But what I did was I built a great team of people here that complement each other. And because we have such a varied schedule on the fire department, I work weekends, I work nights, and straight days. So I really only miss 4 days in a row per month here where I'm at the fire station. All the other times I'm either working the weekend or nights. So that makes me available for here. I guess in the past I would have considered myself a workaholic because I was doing about 120 hours a week with both jobs combined. But now I think I've got it down to around 60 or 70 hours, maybe 80 hours a week when we're really busy. So I managed to do okay though. If I wasn't a firefighter, this probably wouldn't have happened. I was definitely, shown that the market exists, and I didn't know any more about it than most people knew. I figured also that most of the vehicles come out of the manufacturer and they're ready to go for the road. So by working with him a little bit and him giving me the insight that there was nobody working here in Quebec for that manufacturer, that opened the door for me to start the business.